What's up, guys? This is episode 2 of Skers Scoop, and in the first video, we kind of previewed Iowa. We recapped UCLA, sorry, and then talked a little bit about the Big Ten tournament preview here. And now with the end of the regular season, we're kind of done with that. We know who we're playing. The Big Ten awards just came out earlier today, and we're going to talk a little bit about Fred Hoiberg's extension. So we'll go ahead and get started with Fred here. It is big news. He signed an extension. He'll be here until 2031, 2032. So I think they added 3 years to it. And, got a pay grade. He'll jump up incentives-based. It's an incentive-based contract there. And so I'll just go ahead and get started with Brody here. I'm going to throw you a question. I'm going to say Fred Hoiberg will be 59 by the time his contract is up. So do you think he can kind of continue to elevate the program over the next 6 years or whatever it's going to be?
I think he 100% can. I mean, next year we'll see it with Dan instead. We'll get some more NIL money for him, which I think is going to do wonders because this roster really, there wasn't much money with it, and he still has them as a top 10 team in the country. And I think it's only going to go up from there. And even if we just win one game, lose in the second round, it's still a success and something to build off of. And I think getting that money in is going to do absolute wonders for Fred, and I think he's only going to get better and better every year.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely agree. Part of the big deal about the contract too, with a lot of coaches at the time, is incentives based. So he's going to get rewarded for doing well in the Big Ten, doing well in the tournament, the NCAA tournament. So I guess Elliot, knowing that, do you think that Nebraska can continue to kind of push for an NCAA tournament bid, maybe every year? And then along with that, kind of stay at the top of the pack in the Big Ten.
Yeah, it took Fred Hoiberg a few years to get it going here. But I think now that he's got it going, he has a proven track record at Iowa State too when he was there. But I just feel like, with the Dan said the increase in NIL, he has wins to back it up now. So recruiting is going to be easier, and we're even seeing that with the guys they're bringing in this 26 class too. And even they're going to have a 5-star come in for the Iowa game. He didn't make it just because I think of weather delays or something with his flight. But, you're already seeing some of the causes of, Fred Hoiberg's team winning more games. So if you can bring in, higher caliber recruits, you're probably going to be better too. They didn't bring in, super high caliber guys this year. But they just work so well together. But I think if, continue to bring in some high caliber guys along with, how they've been playing defense and Fred Hoiberg, mind on offense, I think they can, continue to compete in the NCAA tournament and in the Big Ten.
Sure. I was seeing something, the university released a press release earlier today with the contract, yesterday with the contract. And I believe I read something that said with the entire staff combined, they've been together now at Nebraska for 22 years worth of experience. So heading forward, theoretically, as long as they can keep on hold of those other coaches, the assistant coaches, and even the general manager, I just think the continuity for the program is really good. And I agree. Right now, they're kind of doing it a little handicapped financially, but if Troy Dannon, kind of sticks to his word there, and Nebraska gets a little bit more NIL budget or revenue sharing, whatever you want to call it, I would say theoretically it's only up there from there. So with that, we'll go ahead and we'll go into the all-conference honors here. Nebraska had 8 total awards handed out, including obviously Fred Hoiberg won Big Ten Coach of the Year for the second time. So Brody, I'll start with you. And I'll just go ahead and say, it's hard to say that anybody got snubbed theoretically, knowing Nebraska basketball's history over the past, since joining the Big Ten. But is there anyone on this awards list that kind of surprised you, Nebraska-wise? Maybe they didn't get what they deserved, or Prager ending up winning the Sixth Man of the Year award, anything like that?
I think my biggest issue is probably I think Price should have been unanimous. He only won the coaches on day, and I think it was Bennett Sturts who took his spot with the media there, but the media has kind of, underrated us all year, including preseason. and it also showed in picking Dusty May over Fred Hoiberg for the Coach of the Year. So I think the media should have given us some more, should have helped us out more. But the coaches, I think they nailed it with us. So pretty happy.
Sure. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go into with Elliot. Sanford. Okay, so I'm going to preface this by saying Sanford, Braden Frager. Obviously, those two were awarded earlier today. They both have the potential to come back to the team. How big do you think that is, knowing that they can return a first team All Big Ten selection, the sixth man of the year, and the coach of the year next year? If everyone chooses to stay.
Yeah, I think those would be pretty big pieces for the team next year if they come back. I think Price will come back. I don't think he's going to go to the draft. I think he's could use another year or two to keep bolstering his draft stock if that's what he wants to do. And then Frager, there's been a lot of things going around of people saying he wants out, posting pictures of him sitting on the bench at this last game during a timeout while everybody else was out there. I'm not going to read too much into that. It doesn't kind of seem like the team culture would necessarily. I don't know what's going through Frager's head. I think that the coaching staff can take care of it and whatever's going on there. But it'd be really good for him to be on the team next year again too. And then Burke is coming back too. I'm pretty sure he's a junior. So those three pieces right there are pretty good themselves. But yeah, just those two pieces coming back next year definitely going to be cornerstones. And I think even in Elisna Hoiberg's preference today, he said, Braden Frager is doing a lot, and they're not really setting screens for him and making stuff for him like they are for Price. So he said, if they can add some of that stuff, especially going into next season, he's going to break out even more.
Yeah, I agree. And if I'm not wrong, I think even a guy like Kale Jacobson, if he comes back, maybe he has a bigger role next year. Who knows? I definitely think you're right. I think Frager is going to see an increase, and maybe the touches he'll have next year. He'll continue to get better, and the potential to obviously add a first team All Big Ten guy coming back. I think that would be huge. So with that, we'll go ahead and go into the Big Ten tournament talk here. I think the big thing that sticks out to me is that Nebraska, with the 2 seed, they kind of avoided. I think they avoided 3 out of the 5 teams that they lost to. Theoretically, at least until the Big Ten championship. So, Brody, if you just want to kind of lay out, Nebraska's path to a Big Ten championship, maybe even just making the game, and then kind of your thoughts on how it shook out for us.
Okay, yeah. So I really like us getting that Purdue draw. I like them. I was terrified of getting Wisconsin again because we may have beat them by 30 earlier this season, but they look just completely different now. I mean, they're shooting lights out. It is absolutely insane. But I think the biggest thing we have to watch for is Indiana. They're going to take care of whoever wins in Penn State Northwestern. And I can see Indiana's playing for their season. They're on the bubble. They're bubble out right now. They need a win against Purdue to get into March Madness. And I could see Indiana upsetting Purdue and us getting Indiana in the quarterfinals, which in our tournament year with Casey and that year 2024, we played them in the quarterfinals, and that was probably the best game I've ever watched of Nebraska basketball ever, just pure entertainment. And I would love to pull Indiana, but even if it's Purdue, I think we beat them. That showing we had in PBA this year was just ugly in the first half, and I think we'd be able to beat them. And I don't see anyone on that bottom side of Michigan State upsetting Michigan State. So a date with the Spartans, I think we can get them again, but it's going to be a hard path. And if we win that, I would love a rematch against Michigan in the finals because we went there and we were not full strength, missing Frager and Mast, and only lost by 3. And
yep.
I would just love a rematch with them. And if you can win the Big Ten tournament, we're looking at 2 seed Nebraska this year in March, and it'd be insane to look at.
Yeah, I agree. I think the biggest thing that kind of sticks out is, if you do draw Purdue, I would say it's hard to beat a good team twice. And obviously by now, Nebraska is a certified good team. on the other end of that, then theoretically you'd be looking at Michigan State, which is, like I just said, it's hard to beat a good team twice. So, there's no easy path to a championship, even with the 2 seed. Getting a crack, hopefully at Michigan, if they would make it that far, I think it would be a good opportunity for them. But Elliot, I wanted to ask you, obviously they played on Sunday night. Now they don't play until Friday. Do you personally think that has any reason to be kind of nervous for Nebraska fans? Or, you see it in the college football playoff where a team gets a bye and then, they'll lose because they haven't played in a month. Obviously, it hasn't been a month, but do you think that kind of correlates to Nebraska in this, that maybe they come out a little flat-footed on Friday?
You brought up the college football playoffs, and that's a great example of kind of the buys. I'm pretty sure the first year of it, no team that had a bye, won a game. This is how the format, I think, has been for a long time in like a Big Ten tournament, is just having a bye, like the good teams. And I don't think it's really been an issue for most teams. And this team is super veteran. They've kind of just shown that nothing really rattles them. They've been down a lot this year and going into halftime against teams that maybe they shouldn't, and they still figure out a way to pull it out most of the time. So I think another example of them going through something where, a team could play in this tournament and get hot coming in, playing Nebraska, who hasn't played since Sunday. I don't think that's really going to be the reason that they would lose a game like this. And like Brody said, I think that Nebraska would win that first game and then get a rematch against Sparty, most likely.
Sure. Well, we're all looking forward to it. That'll kind of wrap it up for us here, guys. So, we gave our thoughts on the Big Ten tournament, Fred Hoiberg's extension, and the All Big Ten selections. So we appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll probably look to have a video coming out sometime later this week. So.